On this episode of Carnage, it is starting to feel like Groundhog Day because the ute is still here in the workshop. Let me explain. So last week we finished off the episode by saying this thing was going to MPW to get the rest of the fab done. That was the plan, but I probably should have shared that plan with Adam and the boys because with us getting sick and all that sort of stuff, and that 2-week break, they got some other work in and we kind of missed our fab window. That's all right, I've been in contact with the boys. The car is going there next week, going in Monday, so we can get that final fab stuff done. That's all right, it gives us a week to finish off the little stuff that's bugging me, that's unfinished. You know, the shifter cable, the radiator hoses, the power steering, that final line has come in, so we can put that in. We put fluid in it, we can put trans fluid in it. We can do all these things. Maybe even I can entice Adam to come over and put a tune in this thing so we can fire it up properly and maybe even make it move under its own power. That would be cool. But we'll see. We'll see if we can make that happen. In the meantime though, I have a whole bunch of little stuff that needs to be done. We're kind of at that point where some stuff, 30-minute jobs are taking half a day to do and it's driving me nuts, but I think we've got most of those done. We've got to bleed the brakes, stuff like that. So, and there's a lot of 2-person jobs, and when I'm here by myself, then it makes it very hard. Now we've got Maddie here. I can do some of those 2-person jobs like bleeding the brakes and stuff like that. So yeah. Anyway, let's get started on all that. So I've ordered a little power steering hose from across the road. Hopefully this works. Ah, that's all sticky and yucky. Ew, that way. So what I'm going to have to do, shorten him up. Whoa, pop. Right, so we're going to have to shorten this to go from there to there. If I put that on there, right, so I reckon about there. These things are great for doing this stuff as well. Ah, that one will have to be shortened as well. Let's go about there. I was supposed to say Hassan chop. People have been missing that. It's okay. Chop. Okay, let's see if it leaks. Gloop, 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 gloop. All right, we'll bleed that when we fire it up next, whenever that is. All right. Now I've got to go find my list, find what else we need to do. Oh, while we're adding fluids, let's put some trans fluid in it. So someone commented the other day, it's like, oh, you're using Penrite instead of Valvoline. What's going on? I'm like, pretty sure we announced that ages ago. Like, it's been a couple of years since Valvoline were a sponsor, but anyway. If we're buying oil, we might as well buy the good stuff. Not to say that Valvoline was not good, it was great. But we use Penrider in our own cars, so little free plug for them. Send us some oils. So I've thrown 5 litres in it for the moment, but none of the trans lines are full or anything like that. So we will again deal with that on startup, check and adjust all the oil levels. But yeah, it has fluid to start. All right, let's talk about shifter. So now that we've got our shifter firmly bolted to the floor, which I've got to say is a much easier job with 2 people than 1. I did it by myself and had the hoist up and down half a dozen times. Yeah, that was painful. A 10-minute job that took over an hour. Anyway, it's in, it's done. One of the things I've worked out is I had to change our shifter gate plate. So the shifter comes with that plate. Actually, it should face that way. So I've got a rag to keep the grease off the carpet of the car. I do not want the grease on the carpet. Anyway, so there's our shifter plate. So this is the 3-speed plate. We needed a 2-speed plate, which came in the kit. And I've already attached that to the side. So now we're in park. That comes back to reverse. That's first. So it's basically first, second, and then neutral. And if you want reverse, you've got to push the lock out. So that would be reverse and then park. So as simple as that. Of course, there's no cable on at the moment, so we've got to do that. I'm going to have to probably slice a little hole in our carpet about there and then feed it up under the carpet, which the dash unit will sit there. So under the carpet, up through that hole that's already there in the floor. So that's one of the factory air conditioning vent holes, and then down and loop around to the shifter, which is, I've got to say, a lot of fun to do. Not. I really don't want to do this, but I've got to. Okay. Now I've got to get out of this thing. Oh, it's so much harder on the hoist. So the cable is in up the top. Now I've just got to do the bottom side. Hassan chop. So every shifter manufacturer out there says don't put anything over the cable. But I always put something over the cable because I don't like buying new cables. Shifter manufacturers don't care if you have to buy another cable. So I'm going to put this 1/2-inch fuel line over the cable, and every time I've done this, the cable has survived. Every time I have not done this, the cable has melted. So I'll be putting fuel line over the cable. Whose idea was it to put this exhaust on? Damn it. This is really awkward, especially with exhaust here. All right. See, these crow's foot spanners are useful for something. All right, shifter is tight. It's in place. Let's stick a little split pin in there. And it should work. Oh, actually, let's test it before we stick the split pin in. Oh. So, first gear, second gear, neutral, reverse, and park. Alright, so what I need to really do now is get out, lift the car back up again, make sure that the shifter linkage can just slip out where it is in park, and if it does that, we've got it adjusted perfectly. So, back out of the car. Slips out, slips in, there we go. Alright, now our split pin is in. Before we move on, we'll just do one final check. So it's in park, all the way to first, top, so first, top, that all feels nice and positive. Neutral, yep. Takes a while for these to loosen up a little bit when you go to the reverse lockout. So we found this with the Lexan as well, that the reverse lockout would be quite sticky for a while, but eventually it gets to a point where you can sort of push it with your finger and then go into a reverse. So it just takes a while for them to wear in. So yeah, and then reverse and then park. All works nice and good. Awesome. All right, well, we can put a cover over that and move on, although I will have to do the trans brake wiring at some point in the near future. Maybe just not right now. Okay, let's find something else to do. Well, I think it's time we bled the rear brakes because it's something we have not done yet. Front brakes have never been cracked open, but the rears, yeah, they haven't been bled. So I'm going to get Maddie to jump in the car and then I'll lift it up, get under the rear, hook up my lines, and yeah, he can start pumping and I can start bleeding.
That's what she said!
Up you go. How you feeling up there, Maddie? Okay, pump it up. All right, hold it. Pump it up. Hold it. Go. All right, hold it. Okay, let's check this. Up again. Pump it up. Hold it. All right, that'll do it. We'll let Maddie down again. Brakes are bled. All right, so I guess next up we've got the wiring of the secondary fuel pumps. I think I'll do that next. Battery clamp is simple. I've got it sitting there. Just need to put the battery back in and clamp it. What else we got? Overflow bottle for coolant. That's easy. You can bolt that on and run the line. Fit oil catch can. I think we're going to have to get the MPW boys to make something, because sure, I could probably use a generic catch can, but most of those are only like 500 mil to a litre. We're going to need something a bit bigger. It's a 7 litre motor. It's got, 6.5 litres of oil in it. If for whatever reason it does decide to vent a large amount of oil out the rocker covers through those breather tubes, you need some capacity to hold it. You need, on an engine of this size, you'd want at least a 5 litre catch can, So I think I'm going to move that over to this list. So this is my list of stuff that has to be done to finish the car off, which is, wheel alignment, needs a wheel alignment, needs the rear springs, needs the blow-off valves and wastegates put on, the intake tube and air temp sensor plugged in, stuff like that. So I think that's going to move over to that list, so I'll scratch it off this list. Same with handbrake cables. I've got the fittings for the ends of the handbrake cables, but I've got to talk to the boys about how we go about cutting the ends of the handbrake cables off, putting our new fittings on, and then reclamping that. So we'll see how we can go about that. So I've got some wiring to tidy up. We've got to do the radiator hoses and put some coolant in it, but I want to fire it up again before we do that. And then obviously it says refit interior, which, yeah, I could probably start doing the center console bit and our 15 button cam pad, stuff like that. So there's not a lot left on this list. So we're getting there. We are getting there. So last time we were under here and we were doing the tail shaft, a lot of people were worried because they saw that the tail shaft went in kind of out of sync with the uni joint up there because of the way the two-piece fashion, and I did fix it, and it is fixed right now. It all lines up perfect. It's great. Except when I put the tail shaft in, I forgot we had our handbrake cable going up above the shaft, and it has to go under the shaft. So I've just undone the rear end part, and yeah, I'm gonna have to slip it out, pull the handbrake cable underneath, and then slip it back in. Fun with cars. All right, let's just knock this out. I might need a soft hammer for this one. There we go. Cable is underneath the tail shaft and above the exhaust now. Shaft back in, so make sure I line up again. Okay, let's add that job to the list so we can tick it off. And that, folks, is how you get things done. Right, so I've spent the morning tidying up the wiring and the lines under the car, using P-clamps and stuff like that. Just making it all tuck in nice. It's okay at the moment. I'm not mega happy with it though, because as good as this Teflon line is, you've got to maintain curbs and stuff like that, and it does give you issues with exhaust clearance and stuff like that, and just it's hard to, hold a position in. So like you'd like to tuck it in tight to the rails, but you can't make those 90-degree turns in some places because of the way the line has to bend in a nice smooth curve, because once you kink it, it's ruined. So you got to maintain those nice smooth curves. At the moment, it's fine, it's going to work. I could certainly race it as is and it'll be fine for the dyno, but I think ultimately we might just do like a hard line from here along the rail and then go and then inside the rail and up into the engine bay that way, and then wrap it when it comes past this exhaust, and the same with the return line. But to do that I need some fairly specific tools, because I need to do like a 5/8 feed line and a 1/2 inch return at least. And to do those, you know, big lines, you need some good tools, and they cost money, and I don't actually have them at the moment. So yeah, that's something for future Scotty to do, but in the moment, this will be fine. So let's scratch that one off the list and see what else we've got to do. That's that one done. Add coolant, not yet. Seats and interior, well, we got half that done. Overflow bottle for coolant. Where is that? So there's our overflow bottle. So that goes there and there. All right, just give these lines a little bit of a freshen up with some WD. Ultimately, we might put some sort of fancy alloy tank for this stuff, but yeah. Right now we're in get it running mode. Okay, another thing off the list. That's right, wiring of those pumps, which I still haven't done, and also the trans temperature wiring. I want to do that before we take it off the hoist. Let's do that. Okay, so I've put a trans temp sensor in the side of our RTS pan here. This is the connector for that sensor, so it's a matter of just 2 wires into that and then run the wire up to the R5. So pretty easy job, but yeah, definitely a hoist job. So when it comes to sensors on a car like this, we break it into 3 groups. We have the pure engine sensors, the sensors the engine needs to run, you know, crank, cam, position, all that sort of stuff, map sensor, all that. Then we have the non-engine sensors, the sensors that are, well, I mean, they're on the periphery, important but not critical to the engine running, which is your stuff like fuel pressure sensor. Like, it's handy but doesn't need it. As long as the engine has fuel pressure, engine will run. Coolant pressure, all that sort of stuff, handy but not necessary for the engine to run. And then we have the race sensors. Now, I haven't really done much with the race sensor side of things yet. I've hooked up a couple, but you know, stuff like gear position, shock travel, tail shaft speed sensor. I haven't hooked up any of that stuff because it's not necessary for the dyno. We will need it to race, don't need it right now. So right now I want to hook up the trans temp sensor though, because that is important, because when this thing goes on the dyno, I want to know if that trans is overheating or not. So I'm going to run our 2 wires off that sensor. I'm going to use some 2-core cable for that, and we'll run it up into the cab and use one of the pre-terminated cab connectors with either an AVI or an SPI, and we'll use those and we'll just assign it in the ECU, whichever one it is. I have it in my head what I'm going to use, but yeah, let's terminate that wire, run her up into the cab, make it happen. So when you do, when you remove an air conditioning system like we did, you end up with a couple handy little bungs in the floor where the drains were for the aircon. So feed that one up straight through there. I think for the moment that is the last thing under the car, so we can drop it off the hoist for the foreseeable future anyway. Of course we just can't push it forward now because it has actually a working shifter cable. There we go. Alright, we're getting there. So when Haltech gives you a pre-terminated loom, they give you this handy little booklet that has basically all the plugs that are terminated, all the breakout plugs. So obviously the loom designed to work the engine and all that sort of stuff, but all the accessories, they just run them to these breakout plugs and then give you plugs to terminate too. So there's our matching plug. Let's double check that. So 12 pin. Deutsch connector. Alright, that matches that. That's good. We want SPI 6. So I'm going to use the SPI as a ABI basically. And then I need a sensor, a signal ground as well, which is number 9. Easy peasy. You can see why we left the passenger seat out for the moment. Let me get my glasses. All right, moving on. So because we're running 2 Hellcat pumps off this thing, we're using a big 70 amp relay, as you can see from the massive terminals. So 70 amps should cover the 25 amps that each Hellcat pump should draw. So 2 times 25 is 50. 70 amp relay should cover that. So yeah, we can mount that, wire it. Bob's your uncle. Shouldn't be too hard at all. All right, let's grab a bolt for that, a little 6mm, and start wiring. So I don't have a single 50 amp wire that'll fit in this terminal, but what I do have is these 25 amp wires. So what I'm going to do is just bare the ends of those and crimp them in there, because I know 2 of these will fit inside that terminal, and that'll give me 50 amp capability where I need it. So let's strip a bit off. If you're thinking these look a bit thin for 25 amp wires, it's because they're Tefzel wires. So good, high quality automotive stuff. So they're not mega thick and they'll handle a lot of current. Anyway, let's get this in our crimper. So what I like to do with these is put a bigger piece of heat shrink all the way around the connector, just to protect it, because they are quite large and open. So we'll just heat shrink around that. and then it'll just slot on the terminal. So now we're up to running the activation wire for the relay, for the fuel pumps, and this is made really easy by Howtech. They gave us what we call HCOs, which are basically 8 amp circuits. Now I don't need 8 amps to activate a relay. However, this makes it really simple. I just pick the next wire that I'm going to use, which I think is pink blue, that HCO8. They are long enough. I'm going to run that one basically out the back. And the beauty of these is you can set them up in the ECU, conditional. It's really simple, like simple for me to do, so really simple. Basically, we'll just tell the ECU to say, when you see 5 pounds of boost, boom, switch the relays on. We'll switch the relay on to power those pumps. Under 5 pounds of boost, the main Hellcat pump should handle that pretty easily, I'd imagine. Anyway, I'll leave that all up to Adam, but I can set this up very simply. And like I said, pink blue is my next one. And we've got enough length there that we can just run it straight out to the relay. How easy is that? So we've got our relay pretty much hooked up. We've just got 2 wires left to do. We've got to do our earth wire from the pumps to the body, and then we've got to do our power wire from the relay to the battery. Unfortunately, I'm out of high amperage cable at the moment, so I have to go grab some of that in the morning. In the meantime, we have checked off quite a lot off the list, so tomorrow I might even fire it up and see if it drives. Well, it's a new day in the Carnage workshop, and once again it's freezing cold. We had a few good days there, but it has turned cold again. But anyway, on the way into work I have stopped in a J-Car and bought myself some 8-gauge cable. So depending on your source, these are good for 50 to 70 amps, so plenty enough for our fuel pumps. So we need a wire that will feed the battery to the relay, and then we need an earth from the fuel pumps to the chassis. Well, let's get terminating. Hassan, chop. So here's the tricky bit, getting this cable inside that connector. Hopefully we can do it. It failed the tug test. God damn it. Thought we had it. I just tugged a little too hard. That's what she said. So essentially that's the wiring that we need to do right now. The secondary fuel pumps are wired up. I guess now we should fire it up, see if it moves under its own power, because yeah, we have transmission fluid in it and all that. So I guess we should try that. I did want to start it up and actually drive it out of the workshop today. Yes, it doesn't have coolant in it, but you know, it's not going to hurt it starting up and running for a minute or something like that. That's not going to hurt it. But yeah, I would like to have driven it outside, except it is bucketing rain outside at the moment. It's bad enough that we've got a hole in the roof leaking on the car right now. I don't want to subject it to a full downpour just yet. But anyway, I think that completes our list. Let's go check it. Wiring secondary fuel pumps, done. Battery clamp, done. Refit interior, well that's going to happen after we finish everything. Add coolant, well yeah, I don't want to add that just yet. Tidy wiring, well yes, I do need to tidy the wiring, but I think again that's the thing that's going to happen at the end of the job. After we have everything wired in, then we go through and then tidy everything. Like, it's a bit of a mess there near the battery at the moment. There's a lot of cables running to the battery. So what I'm going to have to do is run a power lug from the battery. So run a cable off the battery cable to like a single power lug, and then run all the cables, all the power cables to that lug. I think that's going to be a better arrangement than what we have now, because I've got like, I must have 7 cables of varying diameters going to the the battery cable terminal at the moment, and it's a bit untidy. So if we make a lug arrangement and a power lug, run them to that, I think that's a better situation. So we'll do that. Look at it, it's leaking on the car right now. It's really annoying. Damn rain. But anyway, I might fire it up, see if she starts, see if it runs, see if it moves. Well, let's see if this thing starts. Let's see if it moves. We've got a brake pedal, that's good. So no. Don't understand, it's got fuel pressure. It shows up every time we reset it. Unless, let's go configuration. Fuel system, I disabled the injectors. Let's enable the injectors. Obviously disabled them for some reason while we were messing around with it before. And yeah, so now we've enabled the injectors. It should squirt fuel, because we squirted some starcher bastard into it and it tried to fire. So that's what it was. All right, let's try that again. Okay, here we go. Oh, there we go. Little kick. It moves! All right, so this is going to need some serious tuning. I'll have to get Adam over here to have a look at it because I reckon it is rich as hell right now. But it moves. It moves under its own power, so that's amazing. We have some spots of oil on the floor there. I have to sort that out. Anyway, next week it's off to MPW. More fabrication. We'll get Adam on the tuning, have a look at it, but you're going to see all that on a future episode of Carnage.